We are today at the Kennedy Space Center. This is Spaceport. It's a mock-up of the ambassador. I don't think that's a real thing. This is a full-scale model. Here the kids are. There's a courtyard in the spaceport.
Just visible through the treetops is the Kennedy Space Center's logistics facility, where some 190,000 shuttle spare parts are categorized and stored by one of the world's largest automated robotic systems. The smaller hangar-like building to the left of the VAB is the orbiter processing facility. There are two identical processing bays inside this 96-foot-tall structure. After a spaceflight, the Space Shuttle orbiter is brought into one of these bays and readied for its next mission. Any remaining fuel is drained, and all fuel lines, pumps, and engines are cleaned and carefully checked. Cargo and experiment packages from the previous flight are removed here, and new ones for an upcoming mission are installed. Some payloads, however, are put in the orbiter when it is on the launch pad. After the orbiter has completed its checkout in the orbiter processing facility, it is essentially ready to fly. The spaceship is then towed to the VAB, where it is attached to its booster set and external tank. To the right, you can see a crawler transporter used to move the space shuttle and its mobile launch platform, which have a combined weight of 11 million pounds, to the launch pad. The transporter is about half the size of a football field and weighs 6 million pounds. There are 8 moving tracks with 57 cleats on each. Each cleat weighs 1 ton. Propulsion is provided by 2 large diesel engines, which power electric motors, which turn the treads. Maximum speed is 1 mile per hour with the space shuttle atop the height of the deck at either. On your right, adjacent to the vehicle assembly building, is a horizontal structure called the Launch Control Center. This is considered the nerve center of the entire Launch Complex 39. Behind the black vertical louvers at the top of the building are firing rooms where launch preparation is monitored and controlled by a network of computers. Government and contractor personnel inside represent all facets of the space shuttle and its payloads during the final checkout and launch.
No, actually, that's one. Let's just look at Travis. See it?
The stone pad to the left of the bus is the crawler way. The crawler transporter moves the mobile launch platform and the space shuttle over this roadway to the launch pad. The crawler way, which is as wide as an 8-lane highway, was originally designed to support the combined weight of the transporter, mobile launcher, Saturn V rocket, and Apollo spacecraft, about 18 million pounds. In order to support this incredible amount of weight, 6 feet of earth was removed and replaced with layers of limestone and hydraulic fill, which was compacted. Asphalt was then poured, and a final roadbed of river rock was added to minimize friction for the crawler as it journeys more than 3 miles to the launch pad.
Ahead and slightly to your left in the distance is launch pad 39A. And that was the launch site for all but one of the Apollo moon launches. And it was the launch site for the first 24 launches of the space shuttle. Launchpad 39B, which is further off to your left, was the launch site for Apollo number 10, the manned Skylab program launches, the Apollo Soyuz test project launch in 1975, the ill-fated launch of Challenger in January of 1986, and 15 of the last 23 space shuttle launches. Each of these launch pads are identical, and each contains 68,000 cubic yards of concrete and over 5,000 tons of reinforcing steel. The Space Shuttle Atlantis is sitting on Launch Pad B off to your left and is tentatively scheduled for launch during the 3rd week of this month. A firm date and time has not yet been announced.
For what? What is it sitting there for?
As you look off to the left at the Atlantis, you will immediately discover that you cannot see that part that resembles an airplane, the orbiter Atlantis. It's there, but it's behind that light gray or off-white steel wraparound surface structure that we call the rotating surface structure that provides a work platform for engineers and technicians.
The structures to the distant right are where the Titan rockets are prepared and launched. It was here that the Viking mission to Mars and Voyager planetary missions began. The tall structure on the horizon to the front left of the bus is Launchpad A, used for most of the space shuttle launches. We will drive closer to the pad later in the tour. The green-like portion, approximately the size of a DC-9, is the orbiter. The orange-colored tank attached to the underside of the orbiter is a fuel tank, 154 feet long and almost 28 feet in diameter. It is used to supply liquid hydrogen and oxygen to the main engines of the orbiter until it reaches orbital altitude, usually about 150 miles above the surface of the Earth. Two white rockets, or boosters, on either side of the tank contain solid fuel used to provide the major portion of the liftoff thrust. Each booster is 149 feet tall, a little over 12 feet in diameter, and it produces just over 2.5 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. Directly ahead of the bus is Space Shuttle Launch Pad. Notice the incline to the surface of the pad. This represents a 5% incline, which is negotiated by the huge crawler transporter as it makes its way toward the surface carrying the space shuttle. The pad surface is 42 feet above the bottom of the flame trench. The surface towers on the pad provide access to the shuttle and have connections for fuel, electric power, and communications. Because of the large number of lightning strikes in this part of Florida, a white fiberglass lightning mast stands sentry atop the tower, rising 347 feet above the surface. A tower adjacent to the pad contains 300,000 gallons of water used during launches for cooling and sound suppression.
Folks, just up ahead, we're going to make our first camera stop. And where we are stopping for photographs will be as close to the launch pad as we'll be able to get today. Ordinarily, we would get a little closer to Pad B, but there's a road paving operations going on in that area, and we're not permitted. And we're not permitted to go into that area.
These are all the flights and what they did. You read that, what the Apollo flights did.
Mm-hmm. Can anyone go to Mars? They just said something. Oh, down on the bottom. Final crew. Now can I take it out now?
Wait, Danny, I'll help.
security for stop area. Ahead on your right in the center of Launchpad A is a flame trench. The floor and wall surfaces are lined with fire brick, which can withstand temperatures up to 3,000 degrees. Also located in the flame trench is a steel flame deflector, which distributes the heat and flame away from the pad. The small mounds inside the fenced area with white stanchions are used to mount motion picture, still, and television cameras that are used to record the pre-launch and launch activities of the space shuttle. These cameras are remotely controlled, since no one is permitted in this vicinity around launch time. All personnel are moved back to the area of the VAB during actual liftoff. The two large round tanks inside the fence contain liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, the fuel and oxidizer loaded into the external fuel tank for use by the main engines of the orbiter. Since the launch pad is a storage area for these and other exotic fuels, the entire area is fenced and carefully guarded.
Look at a fish. Look at a bird coming up here too.
Dad, when can I take a picture?
I'll tell you.
How come they have it up so early?
You have to get things ready.
Four high bay doors on the opposite side, and behind each door is a high assembly bay. The doors are 456 feet high and take 45 minutes to open. It's behind those doors that space shuttles are assembled vertically on top of a steel platform called a mobile launch platform, and then ferried to the launch pad, which is 3.5 miles away from the building. It takes the transporter about 7 hours to make the journey.
So heavy and big. So they were saying they had to pour concrete underneath this so they could have so that it could support the weight of it. So like comes out of there, and those things that look like tractors, they lay it on that and they roll it down this.
A space shuttle crew consists of 2 to 7 members. The team is made up of both pilots and scientists, or mission specialists. The orbiter can remain in space for up to 15 days, but most missions last about a week. The shuttle is used for a variety of purposes. In fact, many different kinds of jobs can be accomplished on a single flight. Satellites can be taken to low Earth orbit, then checked out to be sure everything is working properly before being placed into final higher orbit. Satellites that malfunction can be retrieved and repaired in orbit or returned to the Earth. Spacelab, a versatile, reusable manned laboratory, is carried in the cargo bay of the orbiter. Designed, built, and funded by the European Space Agency, Spacelab opened a new era of scientific and technological development. Are the press facilities used by the news media to report launches from Complex 39. Up to 3,000 reporters and photographers from around the world have been here to cover an Apollo or space shuttle launch. The press site is 3.5 miles from the launch pads. It is the closest point from which a shuttle launch can be viewed.
Very shortly, we're going to make our final camera stop at the Saturn V moon rocket. Saturn V is the largest and most powerful rocket system ever flown. It's 363 feet long, and when fully fueled, weighs 6.4 billion pounds. It develops 7.5 billion pounds of thrust.
Is that it?
Yep.
And those of you that leave the bus ahead for photographs, remember to stay within all of the boundaries. You may walk around the rocket, and there are tapes that will provide information. Now, we're going to be here about 15 minutes.
safety and security, stay with your group. You are not permitted to go outside